My name is Scasselati. I'm from Yale University, and I'm here, I guess, because I'm mostly interested in using technology as a way of learning about ourselves. I build humanoid robots as a tool in an investigation to try to understand some things about human development. I come out of a tradition of robotics. I was at MIT for a number of years, and we built a number of machines. And one of the things we noticed while we were building these devices is that it was most fascinating not to watch the device itself, but to watch the people who were engaged with the device. And we found not only the people who knew nothing about them, but also the people who were experts with these devices were absolutely fascinating to watch as they interacted with them. So as we watch people deal with these machines, we began to understand a little bit more about both the way we interact with the technology and some of the underlying properties about just human-human interaction. This is one of the machines that we've been building currently. It's the same size and shape as the upper torso of a one-year-old child, actually a 50 percentile male one-year-old child. And we do this because we're interested in seeing how we can build models of human development and actually engage them in the world and make use of what technology we have to try to understand more about human development. There are some fascinating things that children can do that adults can't, and some things that adults can do that children can't. And so if you haven't already heard about this trick, there's a great way to make a whole room full of 2-year-olds fall over. Does anybody know it? Okay, so here's what you do. You play Simon Says with them. And you say, Simon Says, grab your ear. And they can all do that. You say, Simon Says, put your hand on your head. And they can all do that. And you say, Simon Says, put your hand over your head and grab your other ear. And none of them have arms long enough to actually do this. And so most groups of 2-year-olds will sit there and flail wildly like this until they knock themselves over. I won't tell you which of my graduate students that works with also. But we've been building devices like this, and could you do the next slide, please? And some of its predecessors at MIT. I worked on COG and Kismet there, and one more. And we've been using them to try to understand some things about human behavior. In particular, we use 3 different techniques. One, we put people with these machines and watch what the people do. That's a technique that looks at human-robot interaction. Second, we use these machines as a way to design and build models of human development, an area called autonomous mental development. And the last one is to actually use these robots to try to affect some positive change in people. And I'll talk about some socially assistive robotics in our work with kids with autism. Next slide, please. This is a quick transcript of an interaction between a child, in this case a 4-year-old boy, and one of our robots. And he's coded as subject 33. And he said, he, meaning the robot, he looks alive. I don't know if he really even is alive. And we asked him, well, how could you figure that out? And he said, well, I could figure it out by the wires, but I don't know if the wires are alive, just Kismet, the robot, is alive. And we asked him, how would Kismet be alive? And he said, because he's moving, I don't know. And we asked him, moving? He said, your trucks move too. Do you think that they are alive? And he said, no, I don't think that they're alive. And we asked him, no, why not? And he said, well, because I power them. And here in this very short conversation, we uncover 3 different stages of development. 3 different notions of what it means to be alive and what it means to be moving. And this is something that our psychologist friends look at, and they're amazed that we can get this quickly. Because these robots are very unique stimuli. They're at the border between moving and not moving, between being animate and being alive. And that's something that lets us explore this boundary very quickly. Is a 6-year-old girl who, when we asked her, do you and your sister, do you guys think that Kismet is alive? She looked at the robot very closely and she asked Kismet, do you think that I'm alive? And her answer was very much going to be based on the robot's response to this. Now, the robot babbled incoherently and then she went on, but that was really what meant the difference to her. Next slide, please. We also build models of human development into these machines, and I'll tell you quickly about 2 of them. One of the things we've been working with is robots that recognize themselves. So when you look down and you see your own hand, how do you know that's you? How does the robot know that that's itself? We've developed some very simple models that do that. Next slide. And one of the interesting things that does is it allows us to recognize not only when we see this hand moving in front of us, but also that we can see the robot in the mirror and it recognizes that mirror image as itself. Next slide. And so now we have a robot here that actually looks into the mirror and says, "That's me." And that gets a lot of our cognitive scientist friends very interested. We also work with models of speech and language learning. A lot of people will talk about systems that learn concrete nouns. So you hold up an apple in front of the robot and you say, "This is an apple, 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 apple." And it learns that things that have certain visual properties that are red and round, that associate with the sounds apple. Next slide. But how do you learn words that don't have that nice concrete basis? How do you learn words like here and there, near and far? Words like I and you. One of my students, Kevin Gold's been building systems that do this. And the interesting effect that you see with them is that you can do this only by listening to other people. You need to observe other people. And you need to hear them speaking to each other. One of the other things that makes it interesting is that you can do it in reverse. And I'll say that not only can you do the production, but you can also do the recognition. And I'll stop there. Thanks very much.